In a quiet little house lived a baby named Lily. From the moment she was born, Lily was different, not in a way you could see, but in a way you could feel when the family dog, Buster, would let out a soft whimper by the door. Lily's tiny face would scrunch up in sadness, and a tear would roll down her cheek. When a little bird sang its cheerful morning song on the windowsill, Lily would giggle, her whole body wiggling with delight. Her parents thought it was just baby things, cute little reactions to the world around her. But the animals knew better. They felt it. They felt understood. Buster, an old golden retriever with wise, gentle eyes, was the first to realize it. He'd had a tough day once, getting his paws stuck under the garden gate. The sting was sharp, and a deep, lonely ache settled in his chest. He limped back inside, his tail tucked low, and lay down in the corner. Lily, watching from her playpen, began to cry. Not a loud, demanding cry for food or a diaper change, but a soft, empathetic sob. It was a sound that mirrored the exact ache in Buster's heart. He lifted his head, his ears perked, and looked at this tiny human. In her tear-filled eyes, he saw his own pain reflected back at him. It was a connection he'd never felt with any person before. From that day on, Buster became Lily's self-appointed guardian. He would lie by her crib for hours, his warm body a furry shield. If a stranger came to the door, Buster wouldn't bark aggressively, but would stand firmly between them and Lily, a low, protective rumble in his chest. The other animals in the neighborhood soon noticed this bond. A stray cat, usually skittish and wary of everyone, found herself drawn to the house. One afternoon, she limped into the backyard with a thorn in her paw. Lily, sitting on a blanket on the grass, saw her and started to make soft, cooing sounds. It wasn't the usual baby babble, it was a sound of pure compassion. The cat, who would normally run from any human, cautiously approached. As she got closer, Lily reached out her chubby little hand, not to grab, but to gently pat the air near the injured paw. The cat stopped, looked at the baby, and then, trusting an instinct she couldn't explain, she lay down and exposed her paw. Lily's mom, watching from the kitchen window, rushed out, carefully removed the thorn, and cleaned the small wound. The cat didn't flinch. She just kept her eyes on Lily, who was now smiling, her earlier distress replaced with relief. Word began to spread in the silent, unspoken language of the animal kingdom. The squirrels chattered about it from the treetops. The birds sang tales of the empathetic baby, and even the timid field mice whispered stories in the tall grass. The story was always the same. There was a small human who could feel their joy, their fear, their pain. Soon, a strange and beautiful phenomenon began. Animals started gathering near Lily's home. It wasn't an invasion. It was more like a pilgrimage. A deer and her fawn would often stand at the edge of the woods, simply watching the house. A wise old owl would perch on a branch outside Lily's window at night, his gaze soft and knowing. The backyard became a sanctuary. Birds of all kinds nested in the trees, squirrels played fearlessly on the lawn, and even a grumpy old badger was seen peacefully sunbathing near the porch. They weren't there for food or shelter in the traditional sense. They were there for Lily. They were drawn to her aura of understanding, a warmth that soothed their wild hearts. Lily's parents at first were just amused. They called their backyard a mini zoo and took pictures of the unusual gatherings. But as time went on, they started to notice the depth of the connection. They saw how Buster would nudge Lily's hand towards his empty water bowl, and she would babble and point until one of them refilled it. They saw how a mother robin, whose nest had been knocked down in a storm, seemed to chirp directly at Lily, who then became inconsolable until her dad helped put the nest back together. It was more than just a child who liked animals. It was as if Lily was a vital part of their world, a translator of feelings that humans had long forgotten how to hear. The true turning point, the moment of awe and realization, came on a hot summer day. Lily's mom had left the back door open for a breeze while she was on the phone in another room. Lily, now a curious toddler, toddled out into the backyard, drawn by the sight of a colorful butterfly. Unseen by anyone, a venomous snake, disturbed from its hiding spot under a loose stone, slithered silently towards the unsuspecting child. Suddenly, the yard erupted. It wasn't chaos. It was a coordinated, instinctual defense. The owl, unusually awake in the daytime, swooped down from its branch with a piercing screech, distracting the snake. Buster, who had been dozing on the porch, shot up and barked with a ferocity his owners had never heard, placing himself directly in the snake's path. A flock of blue jays dive-bombed the snake from above, their sharp beaks and loud calls creating a whirlwind of confusion. The deer stomped its hooves at the edge of the yard, adding to the intimidating display. The sheer unified force of the animals sent the startled snake retreating back into the shadows of the garden. Lily's mom, alerted by the commotion, ran out to find Lily sitting safely on the grass, looking at her animal protectors with wide, wondrous eyes. In that moment she understood, her daughter wasn't just special, she was a miracle. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was her reality. Tears streamed down her face as she scooped Lily into her arms, her heart overflowing with a gratitude so immense, it was almost painful. She looked at Buster, at the owl now resettled on its branch, at the birds circling overhead, and whispered, "Thank you." As Lily grew, so did her unique family. She learned to walk with Buster by her side, her first steps steady and sure because he was there to lean on. She learned about the changing seasons from the squirrels, who showed her where they stored their nuts for winter. She learned about flight and freedom from the birds, whose songs became the soundtrack of her childhood. She never spoke their language with words, but she didn't need to. Their communication was one of feeling, of shared emotions, and mutual respect. Her friends weren't just the kids from school. They were the fox in the woods, the rabbits in the meadow, and the fish in the stream. She would sit for hours by the pond, her presence calming the skittish frogs. She would bring bandages from the house to wrap a bird's broken wing, her touch gentle and healing. The animals, in turn, shared their world with her. They showed her hidden paths in the forest, led her to the sweetest wild berries, and warned her of dangers she couldn't see. Lily taught everyone around her a profound lesson: empathy. The ability to feel what another feels isn't just a soft, gentle emotion. It's a superpower. It's the invisible thread that connects all living things. It's a force that can build bridges between species, create protectors out of strangers, and turn a simple backyard into the most magical kingdom on earth. Lilia's story reminds us that the greatest strength we can possess is a heart that is open enough to understand the feelings of others, whether they walk on 2 legs, 4 legs, or fly on wings. It's a power we all have inside us, just waiting to be awakened. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves animals as much as we do.